Hey, vibrant creators, awesome Angie here, honoring the awesomeness in you. And today I am sitting here with Mr. Scott Arden. And let me ask you guys, have you ever wondered how wealthy people take advantage of the tax deductions and maximize their profitability? Like the wealthy know some things that the rest of us may not have heard. And today you're going to hear from an expert here. Let me check out this bio from Scott. Oh my gosh. All right. Over the last 24 years, Scott Arden has been a leading expert in corporate structure. Okay, catch this list. This is awesome. Corporate structure, compliance, asset protection strategies, and creation of generational wealth. He has helped me tremendously with the conglomeration I've been putting together. It's been really awesome. And so I want to share him with you today. He's advised thousands of business owners, sole proprietors, investors directly one-on-one, talked with many business owners. You may have seen him in action as a national speaker and coach at many business development, wealth building, preservation, and real estate investment conferences throughout the country. Scott is an incalculable. Did I say that right? Incalculable.
I know.
He's a wealthy asset of wisdom, patience, and experience. I can attest to that personally. He's had a lot of patience. He has a unique gift of being able to get inside of a project at its inception. This is a superpower he's got. He does a think out from within the vision and the objections of the founders to see miles ahead of what anyone else could possibly see. He's got that superpower. This is someone you want on your team for sure. He connects the dots fast. He asks the right questions. He heads off problems before they even arise. And most of all, he leads, and you're going to get this. He leads from a genuine passion for helping companies succeed, specifically to be in full compliance and stay on top of the complex legalities every step along the way. So help me welcome from Reno, Nevada, Mr. Scott Arden.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, welcome. Oh my gosh. Generational wealth, tax deduction, maximize profitability. I love this. So what inspired?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. What inspired you to, get started as a generational wealth expert? Like, how does that even begin? Like, how?
Absolutely.
Tell us. Yeah.
My biggest passion, where it comes from and my why is my son and my granddaughter. I've ultimately created a legacy for my son and my granddaughter, and I want to teach other people how to do the exact same thing. Now, how it all started out way back when, so that is a little bit outdated. It's 26 years now, but back 26 years ago, I was starting my first company, and I had gone to one of the largest asset protection firms in the nation to get some advice. And I was given the opportunity. They said, you know what, how about we just teach you that one-on-one, you come intern with us. And the CEO of that company took me under his wing. I was, he basically taught me everything that you could possibly do with corporations and LLCs, which sparked that interest of, I want to know more. So I actually dove into the Internal Revenue Code section for corporations. I reviewed the revised statutes for a lot of different states to understand how corporations and LLCs operated. And so over the course of that time, that inspired me to show people how to, I can show you how to protect your assets and maximize the tax deductions, but there's a bigger component to that, and that is generational wealth, right? I want to be able to show you how to make money, keep money, invest money. Now, again, I'm not an investment advisor. I can show you how to protect the investments, but ultimately it's to create generational wealth, how to be able to build that estate and pass it on to the next generation. So that's kind of a backstory on where I started with all of this. But once I fully understood what I could do or what we could do, and playing the game by the IRS's rules that they want no one to know about, right? It's the key factor. And
Yeah.
then once I heard this very powerful statement, I researched a lot of millionaires and billionaires over the course of time and how they were structured. And, one of the biggest things or my takeaway was John D. Rockefeller in his final interview was asked, what is the secret to your financial success? And he said, own nothing and control everything. Well, what does that mean? That means utilizing corporations and LLCs that are ultimately owned by a trust, so you could reap the benefits, but honestly be able to say without penalty of perjury, I don't own it. I simply control it. Because if it's owned, it can be taken. However, if you control it, you can use the assets as you see fit, but they don't belong to you. Right. So again, these were very powerful takeaways as I started, understanding how millionaires and billionaires operated and then learning the code to then start implementing these structures. So that's a long-winded answer to your question.
I love the backstory because I really appreciate your heart, your passion for business owners and this topic, because it's the paperwork, the tax codes, like all that stuff, like I'm glad somebody loves doing it and can guide us as business owners along, and give us the options and just say, hey, here's what's possible, here's what to look out for. It's been very invaluable for me, so that's why I've got you here today to share with all my friends. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
My team has a combined experience of 72 years in this. So, it's not just me around here. It is a full team that can help make sure that everything's in place. So yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. Maybe you can help talk to us a little bit about your process. So when somebody comes to you, talk us through like what happens with your process.
Absolutely. So what we do is an initial call, usually anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, to really identify. I like to call what's building the blueprint, right? Stephen Covey, the well-known author of the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says, begin with the end in mind, have a clear vision of where we're going and how we're going to get there, right? Mm-hmm. So really it all starts with putting in place a blueprint. What do we want to do? Where are we at now? And how do we get there? So again, it's putting in place a sequence and identifying through that process what type of entity needs to be put in place, what kind of deals you're going to be doing, or, maybe you're a coach or maybe you're an investor, whatever that looks like, right? Is identifying the right entity structure and then actually implementing it. So that's kind of our process, is to do a comprehensive analysis, truly understand what you want to do, what that ultimate vision is, and then build that infrastructure in place.
It's wonderful. I love that. I mean, there's not many people out there talking about this, I don't think. And as for a new business owner to know this up front is valuable. If you're a new business owner out there, you're gonna want to know about these things and get it organized now, because it's so much easier than having to go back and like fix it later. What would you say? What would you say are some things that hold business owners back from actually looking into this and like getting this set up?
There's a lot of information out there, right? There's a lot of information on the internet. There's a lot of information. You see it all over the TVs. Form your corporation, form your LLC. Your buddy told you about forming an LLC, but not understanding why, what are the benefits? So I think a lot of it is misinformation. People just, they want to make the decision, but they want to make the right decision, right? And so that's kind of what holds people back. Or the other thing about it is they might not even know it exists, right? They've been exposed to a whole world of a W-2 and what's a sole proprietor and, business owners, that's very risky. No, you got to have a job. Well, no, you can actually make far more money being an entrepreneur, right? Because of the tax code. So that's really one of the biggest things, is not understanding what truly to do and what sequence to do it in.
Sequence. There's a magic word there. There's a sequence. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Well, and they're told by their professionals, no, don't form a corporation or an LLC until you hit X amount of, revenue. And again, corporations and LLCs have the ability to build credit. The whole reason why they were put in place was for liability protection. And then you get to take advantage of the tax code. So that's the real reason for entity structures, is the liability protection, and the ancillary benefit is that 81,000 pages of tax code equates to all the tax write-offs, roughly around 233 to 305 different corporate deductions.
Oh my goodness. Did you guys hear that? That's amazing. Wow. What else would you say would hold a business owner back from like really diving in and setting things up right from the beginning? Or even if maybe they missed the beginning and they need to go back and do something, what would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing is, if you've started out as a sole proprietor, we can always make the switch. Having a company kind of absorb a previous, sorry.
No worries.
My phone on D&D. So yeah, that's is not knowing what steps to take next, right? Sorry, I got a little bit derailed there.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. Because there's all these different types of entities and structures, and just knowing, who to trust and what to do and what not to do. And yeah, there's a lot, especially when you're starting out. And like you said, the misinformation, and who do you trust? Right. Yeah.
Well, you need a team too to kind of help guide you. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that'll say, yeah, we'll form your LLC, but they're not going to guide you through the process. First off, is that the right entity structure? But secondarily to that is, after you set it up, what steps do you take next? Right? So we actually help guide through that process. We're not just setting you up and saying, here you go, Angie, go figure out how to use it. We're actually going to, kind of guide you through those next steps. So it can be scary. Going into business can be scary. And those are some of those outside of things that can affect you from moving forward. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Gosh, anything else? I'm trying to think of other questions for you, because truly you have been invaluable for me to get everything structured and protected, and just the education you've given me, just being around you. I always learn something about all of this. It's so important. And like you said, let's elaborate maybe a tad on the team and how important it is to have a team behind you as a business owner, because everyone has a lane. Like there's an accountant, there's an attorney, there's all these different parts, and a lot of times they're not talking to each other. And
that was one of the big things that we found, and that's where kind of where I wanted to bridge that gap. I had a solution for that problem, right? Because trying to get your CPA or your tax team to talk to your legal team is it's slim to none. And then if you do in fact get them to talk with one another, not only are they billing you for that time, but now each one of you are going to bill you for their time to give you the information back. And so, that's where we wanted to bridge that gap of saying, okay, well, your CPA is saying this, your tax team's saying this, your legal team's saying this. What does all that mean? Right? This is how we put this all in place. We need the right LLC. We need the right method of taxation, which is, again, having a team that talks with one another, I think is really what I'm talking about. Yeah. And we talk about you not in a bad way, but in saying, okay, these are the steps that we're going to take. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see any negatives with that? Do you like, would you make any recommendations of some changes? So having that right team that's going to work together for your benefit is absolutely critical. And that's really what we've put together over here.
It's been amazing it's truly amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else you can think that our listeners need to know?
Well, I can talk about corporate structure and LLCs and generational wealth, for hours and hours on end. one of the other things that we really need to be considering is, not only having the right corporate structure, but if you've got assets, you've got children, and you want to make sure that your estate doesn't be taken by the state. So through what's called the probate process, everybody needs to have a properly structured, comprehensive estate plan. Right? Because again, if something happens to us, it goes back to that old saying of no one's promised tomorrow. So we really need to make sure that our affairs are in order to create that generational wealth component. And so again, that's something that we also help with in identifying when is the right time to put that in place for you.
That's good. And it, maybe, and tell me if you can share this or not. Can you share any stories? You don't have to mention any names, but like what could go wrong? Like, so what are some nightmare stories maybe that you could share if a company has not been set up properly? Is there something you
Yes, absolutely. Great question. And I do have I've got permission. I can't use his name. I'm going to call him Jim. But Jim was this was before he came to us. He had been incorporated for over 10 years. He had one of the most pristine financial or CPA firms in the nation doing all of his finances and accounting and taxes. And he received a notice of an audit. Okay. And Jim feeling, hey, I've been incorporated. I've got one of the best CPA firms. My financials are 100% in order. I'm going to prevail in this audit. One of the big things that I always talk about is having the right entities. You also need to maintain compliance, okay? Meaning minutes, resolutions, things like that. Well, unfortunately, Jim hadn't been maintaining all of those compliance documents, the minutes, the resolutions, things like that, that really give your company a voice and a thought process. So upon sitting down with the revenue agent said, I want to see your corporate documentation. So Jim, feeling very confident, pushed his financials across the table. The revenue agent pushed him back and said, no, I want to see your corporate documentation. And so again, Jim, having been incorporated, had one of these nice, beautiful corporate binders in place, right? He pushed that across the table, give it to the revenue agent. Revenue agent opened it up and saw that Jim had never issued or had never done any documentation past appointing himself as the president, secretary, treasurer, and director, and issuing himself a stock certificate. So the revenue agent closed the book back up and said, I now know what I'm dealing with, a sole proprietorship. You're not treating it as a separate corporation. Why should I be required to do so? So he pushed the record book back across the table and said, now let me see your financials. So over the course of a 3-year audit, the revenue agent had identified over $250,000 in deductions that Jim had taken. And because he wasn't treating the company as a corporation, it was a sole proprietorship. See, sole props only get 15 to 30 different write-offs. Okay. They disallowed $250,000 in deductions and penalized him to the tune of 45%. Okay. So again, having the right structure in place, having the right team to guide you is absolutely critical, because all of that could have been prevented had Jim's team told him what he should be doing above and beyond just having his financials in order. So that's why, you know it firsthand. I'm always like, okay, we need to write resolutions for that. We need to have agreements for that. It's what gives your company a voice and a thought process. That's what protects you in the event of a liability issue. Right. So that's one of the horror stories. Again, I don't want to scare people off of, oh my God, I don't want to do an LLC or a corporation. It sounds so complicated. My goal is to educate you through the process so that after working with us for 6 months, a year, whatever that looks like, you know exactly what needs to go in place and when. Right. So it's not a mystery and, am I relying on the team? No, I just know what needs to be done. So again, big passion of mine. That's why, that's why I love what I do.
Friends, do you see why I invited him on? He's so passionate about this, and it just makes my head spin. I'm like, I am so glad Scott loves this. I love having him on my team. Thank you so much for spending a few moments with my audience. How can listeners get more information about you and contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to set up a time, you can either send an email to contact@controllersltd.com. So that's again, contact@controllers, CONTROLLERS Or you can call into my office. The phone number is 775-384-8124. Again, 775-384-8124. Melissa will answer the phone, and you can set up a time to either speak with myself or one of my team. Probably my senior strategist has a little bit more open of a calendar, but my team is always here to help. So, and when you call in, make sure you say, I was on the Awesome Angie webs, or what do we want to call this? This was
I'm on the web, I'm on YouTube, I'm like all over the place. So Awesome Angie everywhere.
Absolutely. Awesome Angie. Make sure we say Awesome Angie when you call in. That way we know where you guys are coming from. And, I just want to explore having a conversation. As I said, the initial conversation is complimentary. Let's just take a review of where you are. Maybe you have an entity put in place and you don't know if it's the right one, or am I using it correctly? Let's just have a conversation, right? It's always good to have a second opinion, a second set of eyes, helping guide you through that process.
If you are a business owner or thinking about it, you just heard him offer a complimentary consultation to talk about this. Take him up on that. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Scott, for being here. This has been fantastic. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about it. We're going to have fun. And this was awesome. I love it.
Yay. I love it. Yay. Oh, awesome. So Vibrant Creators, what are you planting today to create a life that you desire? One thing you need to be doing is give Scott a call. If anything, he's a good friend to have in your back pocket, and he can help you, because wait a minute, one more thing before I wrap up. You actually, we can pay you, because I've been doing this too. Just dawned on me. People pay you to take care of this stuff, so we don't have to. Absolutely. It just dawned on me. Absolutely. I need to amplify that, because, we were talking, in my brain, I'm thinking, we're doing, you teach us how to do it, but you also
actually have a team to do it. So
yes, they actually do. I want to amplify that, because
absolutely.
You can put him on, is it called retainer? I'm not sure what we're calling it, but he's on your team. He's on your team to handle this stuff. Like, I don't have to think about it. Like, I need to amplify that, because
that is our compliance and strategy coaching. So again, we're not just setting you up with the company and saying, here, go figure out how to use it. We're actually going to guide you through that process. So each and every month, we would have a conversation to identify new decisions, transactions, thought processes, or even new deals that are coming up. We would make sure that the documentation is prepared. So all you would have to do is sign it and put it inside your corporate book. But again, my goal throughout that process is, like I said, to make it an educational process. So if you decide to take it over yourself, hire an assistant to do it, or continue having my team do it, at least you know what needs to go in place and when. So we help with all the documentation. We'll create agreements if needed. Again, we're here for strategy to bounce ideas off of. Again, what is the next best step to take in X, whether that's a deal or joint venture or, whatever it is. So yeah, we do help guide you through that process. And then anytime throughout the course of the month, if something comes up, you can always call my team. That's what we're here for. We are your team that help put all of that paperwork in place. So there's no guessing, there's no question as to, are we compliant? You just know, peace of mind, we are compliant, we're good to go. So absolutely, that is our compliance and strategy coaching program.
Yes, it just dawned on me, we didn't amplify that, because that's a huge, valuable part for any business owner to have you on. Yeah, to have your team on their team. Yeah.
Right. And just to add into that, if you've got entity structures that have been around for a couple years, right? Maybe you've had an LLC or you've had an S Corp or C Corp, whatever that is, and you haven't been doing the minutes or resolutions, don't worry about that either. We're not backdating records. Backdating is illegal. However, the IRS, the federal government, and the courts all say that we can reconstruct documentation based upon records and recollection. So again, it's, effective as of versus dated as of, and that's, how we can help bring everything back up to a compliant status and then start moving forward.
That was important right there. That was huge also.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. I tell you, every time I talk to you, Scott, there's always he's definitely him and his team. You want him on your team. That's why I wanted to share him with you today, listeners. Again, vibrant creators, what is it that you're planting to create the life that you desire? Thank you, Scott, for being here.
Thank you,
Awesome
Angie.
Angie, over and out. Have an awesome day.
You too.
Yes.